Acid. Corrosive and hot. That's what it felt like every single morning. Elena stared at the orange plastic bottle on her nightstand. The label was peeled at the corners. Just like her. Take your vitamins, Elena, her mother's voice echoed in her head. You're weak. You need them. Or you'll get sick again. Sick. She hated that word. Her hand trembled as she reached for the glass of water. Whatever happened, she couldn't miss a dose. She tipped the 2 large pills into her mouth and swallowed. They scraped all the way down. Her stomach cramped instantly. A sharp, twisting pain made her gasp. She gripped the edge of the dresser until her fingers ached. Then came the familiar wave of dizziness. Gray spots danced in her vision. It was just her body. Her broken, human body. She grabbed her bag and headed out. The Blackwood Pack Corporation building loomed ahead, a giant tower of glass and steel looking like a fang sticking out of the city. Inside, the air was cold. It smelled of expensive cologne and predator. Elena kept her head down. She didn't know what scared her more, the way the shifters looked at her like she was lunch, or the way they looked right through her. She reached her cubicle. Gray. Boring. Safe. Just file the reports, she whispered. Don't look up, don't make eye contact. Her hands shook as she logged into the computer. Her job was simple, move numbers from one column to another. But today, something was wrong. A red line blinked on the screen. Account 45B. It didn't match. Elena frowned, squinting at the screen. Someone had moved a massive amount of money. And they had tried to hide it. Maybe it was fate, or maybe just bad luck, but she clicked on the file. She just wanted to fix it. If she fixed it, maybe they would see she was useful. She needed the insurance. She needed the money for the pills. The hair on her arm stood up. Not the air conditioning. This was different. The weight of heavy, dangerous eyes watching her from the shadows. She typed in the correction code. Click. The screen flashed. A warning box popped up. Access denied. Security alert sent. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. No. No, no, no. The phone on her desk rang. A loud, shrill scream in the quiet office. She stared at it. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She grabbed her purse. She needed to leave. She needed to go home to her mother. Her mother always knew what to do. She stood up, knees buckling. The burning in her stomach worsened, feeling like it was eating her from the inside out. Then, she saw him. Across the room. Standing by the elevator. Not looking at her, but she could feel him. Alpha Dominic. He was talking to someone, but his body was rigid. Stillness that promised violence. He was huge, with broad shoulders that stretched his suit jacket. Power rolled off him in waves, making the air feel thick. Elena ducked down. He hadn't seen her. He couldn't have. She was nobody. Yet, her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She needed to get out. Now.
The alarm on his tablet wasn't loud. Just a soft ping. But to Dominic, it sounded like a gunshot. He sat in his office on the top floor. The city spread out below him, tiny and insignificant. Just like the people who thought they could steal from him. He swiped the screen open. Security feed. Camera 4. There she was. The mouse. He watched the woman in the gray cardigan. Elena Vance. He had forgotten she even worked here until this moment. She was small, pale. She looked like a strong wind would snap her in half. Got you, he growled. She stared at her computer screen. Eyes wide. Terrified. Guilt. It had to be guilt. Why else would she be vibrating with tremors? She had accessed the decoy accounts. The trap he had set specifically to catch the spy leaking pack secrets. Dominic stood. He walked to the window. His reflection stared back. Hard eyes. A jaw locked tight. He looked like what he was, a killer in a suit. Beta Marcus, he spoke into his earpiece. Alpha? Marcus answered instantly. We have a breach. Financial floor. The human assistant. Elena? Marcus sounded confused. The quiet one? Are you sure? No matter how hard she acts innocent, the digital footprint doesn't lie, Dominic snapped. He watched the screen again. Elena grabbed her purse. She was running. She triggered the trap, Marcus. She's trying to bolt. His wolf began to pace in his mind. It wanted blood. It wanted to hunt. They had lost 3 pack members last month because of leaked intel. 3 families destroyed. Dominic felt the weight of their deaths every single day. He wouldn't let it happen again. Not even for a girl with big, scared eyes. His decision was made. Intercept her, Dominic ordered. His voice cold. Do not let her leave the building. On it, Marcus said. Dominic watched Elena rush toward the elevators on the screen. She looked sick, clutching her stomach. Acting, he thought. It's all an act. Spies were trained to look weak. Weaponized fragility. He was going to break her. He was going to peel back that soft, human skin and find the rot underneath. He headed for the door. He wouldn't send guards to the interrogation room. He would go himself. He wanted to smell her fear. He wanted to look her in the eye when she realized her life was over. Moments later, he was in the private elevator, descending into the belly of the building. The numbers on the panel ticked down. 20, 10. B1. B2. The basement. The silver cells. A strange feeling nagged at him. A scent he had caught earlier near her cubicle. It didn't smell like deception. It smelled like rain. Clean, fresh rain. He shook his head. Smells didn't matter. Facts mattered. She had been caught. The elevator doors pinged open. The basement air was stale, smelling of bleach and old iron. Bring her to me, he whispered to the empty hallway. He walked into the interrogation room. He checked the silver cuffs on the table. They gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights. He was ready. He just hoped she was ready to scream.
The parking garage was dark. Concrete pillars cast long, distorted shadows. Elena's footsteps echoed. Click. Clack. She walked fast. Almost running. Her breath came in shallow rasps. Just get to the car, just get home. The pain in her stomach was changing. Not just burning anymore. It was a deep, hollow hunger that made her bones vibrate. She fumbled for her keys. Her fingers were stiff. A shadow moved to her left. She froze. 2 men stepped out from behind a black SUV. Security uniforms. But their eyes weren't kind. Ms. Vance, one said. Big. Bald. Please come with us. I didn't do anything, Elena stammered. She hugged her purse tighter. Her pills were in there. It was almost time for her afternoon dose. If she missed it, her mother said she would die. We just want to talk, the bald man said, stepping closer. He lunged. Elena tried to scream, but a hand clamped over her mouth. It tasted of leather and sweat. Don't fight, the man hissed. She kicked. She clawed at his arm. Her fingernails were short and weak, they didn't even leave a mark. The other man ripped the purse from her shoulder. No, she tried to yell against the hand. My medicine. Please. They didn't listen. They dragged her toward a black van. The side door slid open with a heavy thud. Her legs gave out. She was so tired. The sickness was taking over. They threw her inside. She landed hard on the metal floor. The cold burned her skin. The door slammed shut. Absolute blackness surrounded her. The engine roared to life. Elena curled into a ball, rocking back and forth. The pain was in her head now. A pounding rhythm. Thump. 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 Mom. She whimpered. She needed the orange bottle. Why did they take the bottle? Eventually, the van stopped. It felt like hours, but might have been minutes. The doors opened again. Bright, harsh light flooded in. Elena squinted, tears streaming down her face. Rough hands pulled her out. They weren't outside. They were in a loading dock. Underground. She knew where this was. The basement. Rumors about the basement floated around the office. People went down there and didn't come back. They dragged her down a hallway. Her heels scraped against the floor. Then, they threw her into a room. Small. Metallic walls. Silver. In the center, sitting on a metal chair, was him. Alpha Dominic. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket anymore. His sleeves were rolled up. His forearms were thick, covered in dark hair. He looked like a mountain. The moment their eyes locked, the oxygen vanished from the room. He didn't look angry. He looked bored. Sit, he said. It wasn't a request. It was a command that rattled her teeth. Elena scrambled backward, pressing herself against the cold wall. She shook so hard her jaw ached. Please, she choked out. My bag. My medicine. I need it. Dominic stood. He walked toward her slowly. A predator cornering its meal. In the echo of his voice, she heard her own doom. You don't need medicine, Elena, he said softly. You need to tell me the truth. Who are you working for? Her world tilted. He thought she was a spy. He was going to kill her. And without her pills, the sickness would kill her first.
Silence hung heavy in the room. Dominic leaned against the metal table, arms crossed. His suit jacket strained against his shoulders. He watched the girl, Elena, shivering in the chair. She was good. He had to give her that. Really, really good. Please, she whispered. Her voice cracked. Dry. Just one. Please. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the orange bottle in his hand. Dominic held it up. He shook it. The pills rattled, a happy, plastic sound in the deadly air. What are these, Elena? He asked. His tone casual. Dangerous. Poison? A tracking device? Or just a little something to take the edge off while you sell my pack secrets? It's medicine, she sobbed. Tears leaked from her eyes. I have a heart condition. A genetic frailty. My mother. Your mother. He scoffed. She actually looked like she was in pain. Her skin was gray. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Dominic knew liars. He knew addicts. Right now, she looked like a junkie needing a fix. If he gave her these pills, she would calm down. She would put her mask back on. He needed her raw. He needed her broken. No more crutches, Elena. No more lies. He popped the cap off the bottle. Elena screamed. A high, desperate sound. She lunged for him. She threw herself across the table. Her hands, small, weak hands, clawed at his shirt. No. Don't. You'll kill me. Dominic didn't flinch. He caught her wrists in one hand. It was easy. Like holding a child. He shoved her back into the chair. Sit down, he growled. He turned the bottle upside down. The white pills cascaded onto the concrete floor. Clatter. Click. Ping. They scattered like bones. Elena stared at them. Her eyes huge. Empty. Dominic lifted his heavy boot. Crunch. He ground the pills into white dust against the gray floor. Now, Dominic said, stepping back. He dusted his hands off. Let's talk about account 45B. He expected her to cry. He expected her to yell. Instead, she went silent. Dead silent. She slumped forward in the chair. Her breathing hitched. Not a sob. A gasp. Like someone drowning on dry land. Dominic frowned. He took a step closer. Elena? She gripped the edges of the metal chair. Her knuckles turned white. Then blue. A sound tore out of her throat. Not a scream. A gurgle. Deep. Wet. Something was wrong. His wolf perked up in his mind. Not with aggression, but with confusion. This wasn't an act. Her body arched. Her back bowed off the chair like she was being electrocuted. A crack echoed in the small room. Loud. Sharp. Like a bone snapping. Dominic froze. What the hell? She fell off the chair. She hit the floor, writhing in the dust of her destroyed medicine. It burns, she shrieked. Make it stop. Make it stop. Dominic stood over her. For the first time in 10 years, he didn't know what to do. Cold dread settled in his stomach. He had broken plenty of spies. They cried. They begged. They bled. They didn't do this.
Fire. It wasn't just in her stomach anymore. It was everywhere. In her blood. In her marrow. In her teeth. Elena curled into a ball on the cold floor. The dust of the pills pressed against her cheek. She tried to lick it up. She tried to breathe it in. But it was just powder. Useless, chalky powder. Mom. She moaned. Mom, help me. The voice in her head changed. It wasn't her mother's sweet voice anymore. It was twisted. Dark. She lied to you, the voice whispered. Not from the room. From inside her. She poisoned you. No, Elena gasped. She clawed at her own throat. It felt like it was closing up. She loves me. I'm sick. I'm human. Crack. Her shoulder blade shifted. It felt like someone had taken a hammer to her back. The pain was absolute. It blinded her. The silver walls of the cell seemed to melt. The lights were too bright, stabbing her brain like needles. Her body seized. Her muscles ripped apart. Not just hurting, changing. Rewiring. She looked at her hand. Her pale, human hand. The fingernails lengthened. They turned dark. Thick. Sharp points that scratched against the concrete. What? She blinked. The hand was normal again. Hallucination. It had to be. The withdrawal was making her crazy. And yet, the smell. She could smell everything. The bleach on the floor. The sweat on the man's suit. The leather of his shoes. And under that, something else. Something rich. Musk. Pine. Power. Dominic. He was still there. Standing over her. She hated him. The hate wasn't a small thing. It was a living thing. It rose up in her chest, hot and heavy. The fear vanished. Why was she afraid of him? He was just meat. The pain doubled. Her spine felt like a zipper being pulled open. Aha! The scream ripped her throat raw. But at the end of the scream, there was a sound she didn't recognize. A low, vibrating rumble. The fire settled into a dull, throbbing ache. She lay panting on the floor. Her sweat soaked through her blouse. She was dying. She had to be dying. She rolled onto her back. She looked up at the ceiling. She wasn't weak. She felt heavy. Dense. Like her bones had turned to lead. The air in the room felt too thin. She needed more. She needed to run. She needed to bite. Bite? A memory flashed. Not a memory of an office. Or a pill bottle. A memory of a forest. Running. The wind and fur. No, she whispered. I'm human. I'm human. Her heart gave a massive, thudding beat. Boom. It wasn't a human heart. It was too slow. Too strong. She pushed herself up. Her arms didn't shake. They held her weight easily. The sickness was gone. Something else had taken its place.
Dominic paced outside the cell door. He had left her alone for 20 minutes. He needed to clear his head. He needed the screaming to stop echoing in his ears. She's faking it, Marcus, Dominic said into his phone. It's a withdrawal seizure. Probably synthetic opioids. You want me to send a medic? Marcus asked. No, Dominic snapped. Let her sweat it out. When the pain stops, she'll talk. His hand trembled as he hung up. He stared at the steel door. The air in the hallway was changing. Subtle at first. The lights flickered. A low hum vibrated through the floorboards. Then, the smell hit him. It slammed into him like a physical blow. It didn't smell like the girl, like rain and fear. It smelled like ozone. Like a lightning strike. Like crushed berries and ancient, deep earth. It was the scent of an alpha. A powerful one. Dominic's eyes widened. Who is in there? He hadn't let anyone else in. It was just the girl. With every heartbeat, the scent grew stronger. It was suffocating. It triggered every instinct Dominic had. His wolf snarled in his head. Challenge. Challenge. Queen. Queen? That was impossible. There hadn't been an alpha female born in this territory for 50 years. The lights in the hallway exploded. Pop, pop, pop. Glass rained down. Darkness swallowed him, save for the emergency red track lights. Dominic drew his gun. Not a tranquilizer. A real gun. He kicked the door open. Who are you? He roared. The room was dark. He heard breathing. It wasn't the shallow, gasping breath of a dying human. It was deep. Rhythmic. Predatory. The figure in the center of the room stood up. She was small. Her clothes were torn. Her hair was a matted mess of sweat. Yet, she stood tall. She turned slowly to face him. Dominic forgot how to breathe. The mouse was gone. The woman standing there looked at him, and she didn't flinch. She didn't look at the gun. She looked at his throat. Their eyes locked, and Dominic dropped his weapon. It clattered uselessly to the floor. Her eyes weren't brown. They were gold. Molten, glowing, royal gold. A low growl vibrated from her chest, shaking the silver bars of the cell. Mine, she whispered. But the voice wasn't hers. It was the wolf's. Dominic fell to his knees. Not because he wanted to, but because his body gave him no choice. He had broken the bottle. And he had let the genie out.
The world wasn't gray anymore. It was red. Elena looked down at her hands. They weren't hands. They were claws. Long curved. Deadly. A spasm ripped through her. It wasn't pain. Not like the sickness. This was power. Like sticking a fork into an electrical socket and liking the shock. Elena, the man's voice called. Dominic. The name tasted bitter on her tongue. Like ash. Her head snapped up. Her vision was sharp. Too sharp. She could see the sweat rolling down his temple. She could count the stitches on his collar. She didn't want to answer him. She wanted to hunt him. Fabric tore. Her gray cardigan, the one she wore to be invisible, shredded like tissue paper. Her bones grew. Thickened. Crack. Pop. She fell forward onto all fours. The cold concrete didn't bother her now. Her skin was tough. Fur, white as moonlight, burst through her pores. The human part of her mind screamed. Stop. This is impossible. I'm human. But the wolf laughed. The wolf was loud. The wolf was hungry. Elena let go. She stopped fighting the tide and let it drown her. She opened her mouth to scream, but a roar came out instead. It shook the walls. It rattled the silver bars of the cell. The silver. It smelled like poison. It offended her. She lunged at the bars. Her new, heavy paws slammed into the metal. Sizzle. Smoke rose from her fur. It should have hurt. It should have made her pull back. Instead, it made her angry. She snapped her jaws. Clack. The sound was loud. Violent. She looked at Dominic. He was on his knees. He looked small now. Prey. Instinct flooded her brain. It wasn't a thought. It was a command written in her DNA. Alpha. Male. Strong. Mate? No. Not mate. Enemy. He smelled like the cage. He smelled like the pain. She crouched. Muscles coiled in her hind legs. She was going to pounce. She was going to tear that expensive suit off his body and see if he bled red like everyone else. A wave of exhaustion hit her. The change cost too much energy. Her vision blurred. The red faded to black. She stumbled. Her heavy white paws slipped on the concrete. She heard him gasp. Beautiful, he whispered. It was the last thing she heard before the darkness took her again.
Dominic couldn't move. He was the alpha of the Blackwood pack. He commanded an army. He had killed men with his bare hands. Then he saw her. The white wolf. She was massive. Even lying unconscious on the cell floor, she was breathtaking. Her fur wasn't just white, it was silver-tipped. Royal. The rarest bloodline in history. And he let it happen. He had tortured her. He had drugged her. He had treated a queen like a rat. Guilt crashed into him, heavier than a physical blow. It crushed his lungs. His own wolf whined in his head. Mate. Hurt. Fix it. Fix it now. I know, Dominic whispered. His voice shook. I know. He stood up. His legs felt weak. He had to get her out of here. If the council found out he had locked a royal in a silver cell, they wouldn't just kill him. They would erase his entire pack. He had stripped her. The remnants of her human clothes lay in tatters around her huge form. He took off his jacket. $1,000 suit. He didn't care. He opened the cell door. The smell of ozone and wild magic was strong enough to make his eyes water. Slowly, he approached her. He held his breath. If she woke up now, in this state, she would rip his throat out. And he would have to let her. It was the law of the wild. He draped the jacket over her flank. His hand brushed her fur. Zap. A spark of static electricity jumped between them. It wasn't painful. It was warm. Like coming home. Dominic froze. No. It couldn't be. The bond. The realization hit him. The pull he had felt in the office. The reason he couldn't stop staring at her for months. The reason he had gone down to the cell himself instead of sending a guard. She wasn't just a queen. She was his. The horror of what he had done doubled. He hadn't just tortured a stranger. He had tortured his other half. I'm sorry, he choked out. Elena. I'm so sorry. He slid his arms under her massive body. She was heavy. Solid muscle and dense bone. With every step he took, he vowed to burn the world down to fix this. He carried her out of the cell. Past the broken cameras. Toward the private elevator. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Marcus. Dominic ignored it. He wasn't Alpha Dominic right now. He was just a man carrying a goddess, praying she wouldn't kill him when she woke up.
Soft. Everything was soft. Elena kept her eyes closed. She was afraid if she opened them, the softness would vanish. She would be back on the cold floor. She took a deep breath. It smelled like lavender. And cotton. And him. Pine and rain. Her eyes snapped open. She wasn't in the basement. She was in a bed. A huge bed. The sheets were white silk. The ceiling was high, with a crystal chandelier hanging from it. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Where was she? Elena sat up. Her body felt different. The constant ache, the sickness, was gone. Her skin felt tight. Buzzing with energy. She looked at her hands. They were human again. But the fingernails were strong. Pearl-white and hard. She felt dangerous. Then, she remembered. The pills. The cell. The pain. The wolf. Her chest ached at the memory. He had broken her. He had taken away the only thing that made her feel safe, and forced her to become a monster. She looked around. Her clothes were gone. She was wearing a large, black t-shirt. It hung off her shoulders. It smelled like him. A growl rumbled in her throat. She didn't feel fear. She felt offended. Who dressed her? Who touched her while she slept? She heard it. A heartbeat. Thump thump. Thump thump. It was coming from outside the door. Fast. Nervous. She swung her legs out of bed. Her feet hit the plush carpet. She didn't stumble. She felt grounded. Strong. She walked to the door. She reached for the handle. The door opened before she could touch it. Dominic stood there. He looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed. His shirt was wrinkled, the top buttons undone. He held a tray of food. Toast. Eggs. Orange juice. He froze when he saw her. The Alpha. The monster of the office. The man everyone feared. He wouldn't meet her eyes. He looked at the floor. He looked at the tray. Elena, he said. His voice was rough. Quiet. You're awake. The tension broke, but not in a good way. It shattered into something sharp. Elena took a step forward. She should run. She should be scared. Instead, she tilted her head. She studied him. He was terrified of her. The realization was intoxicating. Better than the wine. Where am I? She asked. Her voice was lower than before. Smokier. My penthouse, Dominic whispered. Top floor. Why am I not in the cell? Dominic flinched. The tray rattled in his hands. Because, he said, swallowing hard. You don't belong in a cell. You belong on a throne. Her thoughts spun. Throne? Elena realized the truth. He hadn't brought her here to interrogate her. He had brought her here because he knew what she was. And for the first time in her life, Elena Vance held all the cards. Put the tray down, she commanded. Dominic obeyed. He set the tray on the dresser. His movements were jerky. Quick. He stepped back, giving her space. Get out, she said. Dominic looked at her then. His eyes were full of pain. And longing. He nodded. Yes, he said. I'll be right outside. If you need anything, get out. He retreated. The door clicked shut. Elena stood in the center of the room. She was alone. She walked to the mirror. She looked at her reflection. The dark circles under her eyes were gone. Her skin glowed. She looked like a stranger. She looked like a queen. And the king was afraid of her. Slowly, a smile curled her lips. It wasn't a nice smile. Okay, she whispered to the wolf inside. Let's play.
Dominic stood on the other side of the bedroom door. He felt like a guard dog. A very expensive, very guilty guard dog. He could hear her moving inside. The soft thump of bare feet on carpet. The rustle of silk. Every sound hit him like a physical blow. He held a folder in his hand. The paper was crisp. White. Innocent looking. But the information inside was a death sentence. Alpha? Dominic turned. Marcus stood at the end of the hallway. The beta looked nervous. The lab results are confirmed? Dominic asked. His voice low. Dangerous. Yes, Marcus whispered. High-grade wolfsbane. Synthetic. Designed to suppress not just the shift, but the biological markers. It's military grade, Dom. Someone has been feeding her poison since she was a toddler. The nausea in Dominic's gut doubled. He had thought she was an addict. He had thought she was weak. She was the strongest thing he had ever met. She had survived 20 years of chemical warfare waged by her own mother. Leave us, Dominic ordered. Marcus nodded and vanished. Dominic took a deep breath. He knocked. Elena? What? Her voice came through the wood. Sharp. Imperious. I have answers. The door opened. She stood there. She was wearing one of his dress shirts, cinched at the waist with a belt she must have found in his closet. She looked ridiculous. And majestic. Their eyes locked, and his wolf bowed. It physically hurt to keep his head up. Speak, she said. Dominic held out the folder. She snatched it. Her movements were faster now. The human clumsiness was gone, replaced by a fluid, predatory grace. She opened the file. Dominic watched her face. He saw the confusion first. Then the denial. This is a lie, she whispered. Her hand started to shake. Not from fear this time. From rage. It's not, Dominic said gently. The pills in the orange bottle. They weren't vitamins, Elena. They were suppressants. High-grade wolfsbane. He had to tell her the rest. The dosage, it would have killed a normal wolf in a month. You've been taking it for 2 decades. Elena stared at the paper. Her knuckles turned white. The air in the room grew heavy. The scent of ozone returned. Sparks danced along her fingertips, singing the edges of the paper. My mother gave them to me, she said. Her voice hollow. Every morning. She said I was fragile. She lied, Dominic said. He took a step closer, risking his life. He wanted to touch her. To comfort her. But he had lost that right in the cell. You aren't fragile, Elena. You are a queen. And she stole your life to hide it. Elena looked up. Her eyes weren't gold anymore. They were burning with something darker. Betrayal. Where is she? Elena asked. Before he could speak, she crumpled the report in her fist. Find her, Dominic. It wasn't a request. It was an alpha command. Find my mother.
The paper felt like ash in her hand. Wolfsbane. Elena paced the length of the penthouse suite. With every step, a new memory flashed in her mind. Her mother's smile. The way she smoothed Elena's hair when she was sick. The pity in her eyes. You're just not built for this world, sweetie. You need me. It was all a lie. A long, meticulous, 20-year con. The person she had loved most in the world was the villain. And the monster standing by the door, Dominic, was the only one telling her the truth. She looked at him. He was leaning against the wall, watching her. His face was a mask of regret. He looked tired. He hadn't left. He hadn't tried to control her. Why? Elena asked. She stopped pacing. Why would she do this? Why hide me? Dominic hesitated. She knows, deep down, she knows. Because of your blood, he said softly. An alpha female is rare, Elena. Priceless. If the council knew you existed, you would be royalty. Your mother, she kept you weak so she could keep you. Her chest ached. Not the burning ache of the poison. A sharp, stabbing pain in her heart. She had been a prisoner in her own body. A wave of heat rolled through her. It started in her belly and shot to her fingertips. The wolf. The wolf didn't feel sad. The wolf felt insulted. Mother. Traitor. Hunt. Elena grabbed a vase from the table. It was crystal. Heavy. She threw it. It smashed against the wall, shattering into 1,000 diamonds. She knew. Elena screamed. She watched me suffer. She watched me vomit blood and she told me it was love. In the aftermath of the crash, she felt strong arms wrap around her. Dominic. He pulled her against his chest. He was solid. Warm. He smelled like safety. She didn't know what scared her more, the fact that she wanted to kill her mother, or the fact that she didn't push him away. Let it out, he whispered into her hair. Burn it down, Elena. Scream. So, she did. She turned in his arms and buried her face in his shirt. She didn't cry. Queens don't cry. She snarled. A deep, guttural sound of pure fury. The dynamic shifted. He wasn't her captor anymore. He was her weapon. And she was going to aim him right at Martha Vance. I want her found, Elena mumbled against his chest. I already have teams on the street, Dominic promised. We will find her. Elena pulled back. She looked up at him. Her eyes were dry. No, she said. Not we. You. You owe me, Dominic. You broke me open. Now you help me finish this. The tension broke, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. Dominic nodded. He looked at her with something that looked terrifyingly like worship. Anything, he vowed. My pack is yours.
The war room was a bunker of steel and screens. Dominic slammed his hand on the mahogany table. The wood groaned. I want eyes on every train station, every airport, and every bus terminal, he barked. Martha Vance does not leave the city. 10 of his best enforcers stood around the table. They looked uneasy. They shifted on their feet. The scent of doubt filled the room. It smelled like sour milk. Alpha, Marcus spoke up. He was brave. Stupid, but brave. We're diverting resources from the border patrol. For a human woman? The mother of the spy? Dominic turned on him slowly. The air thickened. She is not a spy, Dominic said. His voice quiet. Deadly. And she is not human. But the reports. Burn the reports, Dominic snarled. Elena is. He stopped. He couldn't say it. Not yet. If he announced she was an alpha queen before she could control her shift, someone would try to assassinate her. He stepped closer to Marcus. She is under my protection. That is all you need to know. A tense stare-down ensued. Marcus was a strong beta. He didn't back down easily. The pack is restless, Dom, Marcus warned. They know you had a girl in the silver cell. Now she's in your penthouse? And we're hunting her mother? It looks unstable. The screens on the wall flickered. A news alert popped up. Breaking news. Dominic turned. There, on the screen, was Martha Vance. She wasn't running. She wasn't hiding in a hole. She was standing on the steps of the city council building. She was surrounded by reporters. And she was crying. The news anchor's words cut through the room. Claims her daughter, a vulnerable woman with special needs, was kidnapped by the Blackwood Corporation. Martha Vance is pleading for her return. Dominic felt his blood turn to ice. Martha looked directly into the camera. She looked like a saint. A terrified, grieving mother. Please, Martha sobbed on screen. She's sick. She needs her medicine. If she doesn't get it, she'll die. Dominic hadn't expected this. She wasn't fleeing. She was attacking. She was using the human world to crush the supernatural one. His phone buzzed. It was Elena. Up in the penthouse. Watching the same screen. He knew what she was going to say before he even answered. The game had changed. It wasn't a hunt anymore. It was a war. And Martha had just fired the first shot. Clear the room, Dominic ordered, his eyes never leaving the screen. His men scrambled. Dominic stared at Martha's tear-stained face. You made a mistake, Martha, he whispered to the pixels. You didn't ask for your daughter back. You asked for the wolf. She had just invited the devil to dinner.
The television screen was a window into hell. Elena stood in the middle of the penthouse living room. Her hands were fists at her sides. Her nails bit into her palms until she bled. On the screen, her mother wiped a delicate tear from her cheek. Cameras flashed like lightning. She doesn't know what she's doing, Martha sobbed into the microphones. Dominic Blackwood took her. He has her. My poor baby needs her medication. A growl built in Elena's chest. It wasn't just anger. It was hatred. Pure, distilled hatred. The wolf wanted to break the screen. It wanted to jump through the glass and tear Martha's throat out in front of the whole world. She's good, Elena whispered. Her voice trembled. She's so good. The door behind her opened. Dominic walked in. He smelled like gunpowder and stress. He saw the screen. He saw the way Elena was shaking. The atmosphere shifted. He didn't try to turn the TV off. He didn't try to hide the truth. He walked straight to her. He stopped inches away, invading her space, wrapping her in his scent of pine and rain. She is baiting you, Dominic said. His voice low. Rough. She wants you to run to her. Or she wants you to lose control in public. She called me sick, Elena hissed. She looked up at him. Her eyes flashing gold. She told the world I'm a broken human who needs her poison to survive. The ticker at the bottom of the screen read, Blackwood Corp accused of kidnapping. Elena laughed. A brittle, jagged sound. If I go down there, she said, pointing a shaking finger at the city below, I can prove her wrong. I can shift. I can show them the wolf. Dominic grabbed her shoulders. His grip was hard. Desperate. No, he growled. If you shift now, unstable, uncontrolled, they won't see a queen. They'll see a monster. They'll see exactly what Martha wants them to see. A dangerous animal that needs to be put down. Her chest ached at the truth of his words. He was right. Martha had trapped her. If she stayed hidden, Dominic looked like a kidnapper. If she revealed herself and lost control, she proved Martha right. Suffocation set in. The walls of the luxury penthouse felt just like the walls of the silver cell. Elena stepped into Dominic. She pressed her forehead against his chest. She needed to borrow his strength because hers was fracturing. I can't let her win, she whispered. I can't go back to the pills. I won't. You won't, Dominic promised. His hand slid up to cup the back of her neck. His thumb stroked her pulse point. We stopped playing by her rules. We make new ones. Yet, Elena could feel the tremor in his hand. He was terrified. Not for himself. But for her. She made a choice. She wasn't going to be the victim in the news story. She pulled back. She looked him in the eye. Then teach me, she said. Teach me how to be the alpha you are. Teach me how to control the killer inside me. The air crackled with electricity. Dominic didn't blink. It will hurt, he warned. I know pain, Elena replied. I've been eating it for breakfast for 20 years.
The training room was soundproof. It had to be. Dominic locked the door. Just him. And her. Elena stood on the mat in the center of the room. She was wearing simple workout gear, leggings and a tank top. She looked small. But then, he looked at her eyes. There was nothing small about the spirit burning in those golden depths. Hit me, Dominic said. Elena blinked. What? You need to learn control, Dominic explained. He spread his arms wide. The wolf responds to adrenaline. To threat. You need to learn how to feel the rage without letting it drive the car. So, hit me. She hesitated. Then, she moved. She blurred. Faster than humanly possible. She threw a punch at his jaw. Dominic caught her fist. Smack. The impact stung his palm. She was strong. Much stronger than she realized. Harder, he goaded her. Is that all you have? Martha hits harder than that. He saw the snap. Her pupils dilated. A low growl ripped from her throat. She spun, lashing out with a kick that would have broken a normal man's ribs. Dominic blocked it, but the force sent him skidding back a few inches. Violence erupted. She attacked. He defended. She was messy. Raw. But she was powerful. She lunged for him, tackling him to the mat. They went down in a tangle of limbs and sweat. She straddled his waist. Her hand pinned his throat. Her claws were out, pricking the skin of his neck. Everything stopped. Elena froze. She was panting hard. Her hair fell like a curtain around them. She looked down at him, her eyes wide, realizing she had the alpha of the Blackwood pack pinned. The tension broke and turned into something else. Heat. It rolled off her in waves. Pheromones. Desire. Dominic lay still beneath her. He exposed his throat further. A silent offering. His hands came up to rest on her hips. Good, he rasped. You have the power. Now, do you have the will? Elena's gaze dropped to his lips. Then back to his eyes. The gold in her irises swirled. I broke you, he whispered, the guilt bleeding into his voice. I broke you in that cell. Elena leaned down. Her lips brushed his ear. Then remake me, she breathed. Her voice trembled, but not with fear. With want. Dominic flipped them. He hovered over her, caging her with his body. He didn't kiss her. He didn't dare. He just stared at her, memorizing the lines of her face, realizing that he would burn the entire city to the ground if she asked him to. He made a silent vow. Martha Vance was a dead woman walking. We are a team, he told her. You and me. Against the world. Elena reached up. She traced the line of his jaw. Against my mother, she corrected. He allowed himself a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could win.
Night had fallen over the city. The penthouse was quiet. Dominic had gone to the war room to finalize their strategy. Elena sat on the floor of the bedroom. Her legs were crossed. Her eyes were closed. Breathe, just breathe. She was trying to find the wolf. She was trying to talk to it. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A single vibration. Elena ignored it. She focused on her heartbeat. Thump thump. It buzzed again. And again. She opened her eyes. She reached for the phone. Unknown number. She swiped the screen. A video message. The thumbnail loaded. Elena stopped breathing. It was grainy. Black and white. Security footage. It was the cell. She saw herself, tied to the chair. Screaming. She saw Dominic standing over her, destroying the pills. She saw him holding her down. From this angle, without the audio, it looked barbaric. It looked like torture. Her chest ached. It looked like exactly what Martha said it was. Below the video, a text bubble appeared. Midnight. The old factory on the docks. Come alone. Or I send this to the council. They will execute him by morning. Elena dropped the phone. It hit the carpet with a soft thud. Her world tilted. If the council saw this, they wouldn't care about the context. They wouldn't care that she was a queen or that he was her mate. They would see an alpha torturing a human female. It was a capital offense. Dominic would die. Panic clawed at her throat. Real, suffocating panic. She stood up. She paced the room. I have to tell him, she whispered. She reached for the door handle. But then, she stopped. If she told him, he would rage. He would attack. He would bring his army. And Martha? Martha would release the video the second she saw him coming. He couldn't save himself. He would never let her go alone. He would die trying to protect her. Elena realized the trap had no exit. Not for them. Only for him. She looked at the reflection in the window. The city lights blurred through her tears. She wasn't just a queen. She was a mate. And mates protected each other. Her hand shook as she walked to the closet. She grabbed a dark hoodie. She wrote a note. Just 3 words. I'm sorry. She left it on the pillow. The wind shifted outside, howling against the glass. Elena slipped out the balcony door. She couldn't climb down. It was too high. Instead, she closed her eyes. She called on the power she had felt in the gym. The strength of the wolf. She jumped to the neighboring terrace. Her body moved on instinct. She was fast. Silent. A ghost in the night. She was going to the docks. She was going back to the poison. Back to the cage. It was the only way to keep his heart beating. The docks smelled of dead fish and rusted iron. Elena pulled the hood of her black sweatshirt up. The wind whipped around her legs. It was a biting, wet cold. She walked toward the looming silhouette of the old factory. A skeleton of a building. Broken windows like jagged teeth. She was alone. Her chest ached with every step. She wasn't just walking into a trap. She was walking into her past. I'm here, she screamed. Her voice snatched away by the wind. I'm here, Mother. Nothing happened. Just the sound of water lapping against the pier. Slap. 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 Then, a spotlight clicked on. Blinding white light flooded the cracked pavement. Elena threw her hands up to shield her eyes. Right on time, sweetie, a voice echoed. It was amplified by a speaker. Martha. A metal door screeched open. Martha walked out. She was wearing a trench coat and heels. Perfectly put together. Flanked by 4 men in tactical gear holding rifles. Let him go, Elena shouted. She lowered her hands. She stood tall, trying to channel the queen. I'm here. Delete the video. Martha laughed. A soft, indulgent sound. Like she was watching a toddler try to do math. Oh, Elena, she cooed. You really are simple. The video isn't just leverage. It's insurance. Elena realized the truth. There was no deal. There never was. the wolf roared. It didn't care about guns. It didn't care about videos. It wanted blood. Her body moved on instinct. She lunged. She covered 10 feet in a second. Her fingers curled into claws. A sharp hiss cut through the air. Thwip. Something stung her neck. Elena stumbled. She reached up and pulled out a small red dart. Instant fire. Not the wolf's fire. A cold, chemical fire. Her legs turned to rubber. The ground rushed up to meet her. Smack. She hit the concrete hard. Her vision swam. The white spotlight blurred into a halo. Tranquilizers mixed with the suppressants, Martha explained, her voice getting closer. Expensive. But necessary. Elena tried to crawl. She dragged her body forward, scraping her skin raw. You promised. She slurred. The world narrowed down to a pinpoint. She saw Martha's shoes stop in front of her face. I promised to save you, Martha whispered. And I am. From yourself. Darkness took her.
Silence suffocated the penthouse. Dominic stood by the open balcony door. The curtains blew inward, ghost white in the moonlight. Her scent was fading. Rain and pine, dissipating into the cold city air. He turned back to the bed. The note sat on the pillow. 3 words. I'm sorry. Her name hung in the air, unspoken but choking him. He picked up the paper. It smelled like her. It smelled like fear. He understood. She didn't leave because she didn't trust him. She left because she loved him too much to let him die. Foolish, he rasped. My foolish, brave girl. He crushed the note in his fist. Rage. It wasn't a hot burn. It was a cold, glacial freeze. It started in his heart and spread to his fingertips. He walked to the mirror. He looked at himself. The alpha who had broken her. Martha had used his own sin against him. She had weaponized his cruelty to steal his queen. He couldn't call the pack. He couldn't bring an army. If he made a scene, if the video leaked, Elena would be painted as a victim of his abuse, and the council would take her away for her own safety. He had to do this the old way. The bloody way. He went to his safe. He punched in the code. Beep. 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 Click. He didn't take a gun. Guns ran out of bullets. He took a pair of silver-plated trench knives. He slid them into the sheaths at his belt. His phone buzzed. Marcus. Alpha, the perimeter sensors tripped. Elena is gone. Should I sound the alarm? No, Dominic said. His voice dead. Void of all emotion. But. Stand down, Marcus. If anyone asks, she is sleeping. Dom, where are you going? Dominic let the wolf take the wheel. His eyes flashed gold in the dark room. I'm going to take out the trash. He hung up. With every step he took toward the balcony, the floorboards groaned under his suppressed power. He wouldn't drive. He would run. He would hunt. He jumped over the railing, plunging into the night. He let the transformation take him, from man to monster. Because tonight, being a monster was the only way to save her.
Drip. 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 The sound was rhythmic. Hypnotic. Elena opened her eyes. The lids felt heavy. Gritty. She was in a chair. A medical chair. Leather straps bound her wrists and ankles. They were tight. Cutting off circulation. Where? The factory. The back room. It smelled of antiseptic and mold. A terrible combination. She saw it. The force stand next to her. A bag of bright orange fluid hung from the hook. A clear tube ran down, right into the vein in her arm. No, she croaked. Her throat dry as sandpaper. The liquid flowed. Cool. Invasive. She felt the sickness returning. The weakness. The wolf was screaming, but it sounded far away. Muffled. Like it was drowning underwater. Comfortable? Elena turned her head. It took so much effort. Martha sat on a stool nearby, holding a tablet. She looked like a scientist observing a lab rat. Why? Elena whispered. Tears leaked from her eyes. Why do you hate me? Hate you? Martha chuckled. She stood up and checked the flow. Elena, you are my retirement fund. Do you know how much your blood sells for on the black market? Alpha blood? It cures diseases. It extends life. And you produce the most potent strain I've ever seen. Her chest ached. Her heart was slowing down. The powerful thump-thump of the wolf was fading into the weak flutter of a human. Martha leaned in close. Her perfume was cloying. You were never meant to rule, sweetie, Martha whispered. You were meant to be livestock. A battery. I keep you sick, I keep you docile, and I harvest the magic. Elena felt a piece of her soul crack. She wasn't a daughter. She was a product. She thought of Dominic. His rough hands. His guilt. His worship. He had treated her like a queen even when she was in a cage. Her mother treated her like cattle in a palace. He'll come, Elena whispered. He'll come for me. Let him, Martha shrugged. She tapped the screen of her tablet. I have a welcoming committee. And once he's dead, well, you'll have no one left but me. The darkness closed in. The orange poison reached her heart. Elena's head lolled back against the chair. All seemed lost. The fire was gone. The cold was back. The familiar, suffocating gray. Yet, deep in the back of her mind, a tiny ember glowed. A spark of stubborn, angry gold. Not dead, the ember hissed. Sleeping. Waiting. Elena closed her eyes. I'm sorry. Dom. The monitor beeped. Slow. Steady. Beep. 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 She was just a girl again. Broken. Alone. Or so they thought.
The factory was a maze of shadows and rust. Dominic moved through the darkness. Silent. A predator in his element. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of salt and rot. Then, he caught it. Underneath the smell of the harbor, the scent of oranges. Artificial. Chemical. The poison. He moved faster. He didn't care about stealth anymore. He cared about the beat of her heart, fluttering through the bond like a dying bird. He kicked open the double doors of the loading bay. Bang. The sound cracked through the silence. Inside, the space was vast. Lit by harsh floodlights. Martha Vance stood on a raised platform. She was surrounded by men. Mercenaries. They held rifles pointed straight at him. But Dominic didn't look at the guns. He looked at the chair. Elena. She was pale. Gray. The 4-tube was a leash tethering her to death. Her head hung low, her chin resting on her chest. He could feel the phantom pain in his own ribs. She was fading. Welcome, Alpha, Martha called out. Her voice smooth. Sickeningly sweet. You're just in time for the finale. Dominic calculated the odds. 10 men. Automatic weapons. Silver bullets. He could kill 5 before they dropped him. Maybe 6. But that wouldn't save her. So, he did the only thing that would buy her time. He surrendered. He held his hands up. Let her go, Martha, he roared. His voice wasn't begging. It was bargaining. You want blood? Take mine. I'm a prime alpha. My blood is worth 10 of hers. Martha laughed. Oh, Dominic. You really don't get it. She signaled the guards. Why would I trade a golden goose for a wolf? Kill him. The guns cocked. Click-clack. Dominic bared his teeth. He crouched, ready to die fighting. Then, he saw Elena's finger twitch. Just a twitch. She wasn't gone. Not yet. She was fighting the ocean of drugs with a teaspoon of will. He needed to wake her up. He needed to trigger the one thing stronger than wolfsbane. Instinct. Before the words left her lips, or Martha's lips, Dominic howled. He didn't shift. He just roared. A sound of pure, unadulterated pain and challenge. He lunged at the nearest guard. Crack. He broke the man's arm. A hail of gunfire erupted. Bullets tore into his shoulder. His leg. He fell to his knees, blood pooling on the concrete. He looked up at Elena. Wake up, he gritted out, blood staining his teeth. Wake up, Queen.
Darkness. Thick, syrupy darkness. Elena floated in it. It was peaceful. It didn't hurt here. A sound pierced the void. A roar. It wasn't just a noise. It was a vibration that rattled her bones. Dominic. She tried to open her eyes. The lids felt like they were glued shut. Then, the smell hit her. Copper. Iron. Blood. His blood. The piece shattered. The wolf inside her didn't care about the poison. It didn't care about the four. It sensed one thing, mate. Hurt. Dying. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Thump. It pumped adrenaline through her veins so fast it burned the drugs away. Elena's eyes snapped open. She saw him. Dominic. On his knees. Bleeding from 3 wounds. A guard was raising a rifle to his head. Fury eclipsed the sun. No. The scream didn't sound human. It carried a shockwave. The glass of the 4-bag shattered. Smash. Orange liquid rained down on the floor. Elena ripped her arm free. The leather strap snapped like a rubber band. She didn't feel the needle tearing out of her vein. She didn't feel the tranquilizers. She felt power. She stood up. She swayed for a second, then grounded herself. Martha turned, her eyes wide. That's impossible, that dose. Elena looked at the guard holding the gun to Dominic's head. She opened her mouth. She didn't yell. She spoke with the voice. The alpha command that forced the world to obey. Drop. It. The air in the room grew heavy. Gravity seemed to double. The guard's hands opened. The rifle clattered to the floor. He fell to his knees, clutching his ears, bleeding from his nose. Get away from him, Elena snarled. The shift took her. She didn't fight it. She didn't wait for it. She forced it. Her bones cracked. Her skin rippled. She didn't become the wolf. She became something in between. Her claws elongated. Her eyes burned gold. Her canines extended over her lip. She was the hybrid. The war form. Martha scrambled back, dropping her tablet. Kill her. Kill the monster. Elena laughed. A dark, guttural sound. I'm not a monster, Mother, she whispered. I'm the solution.
Dominic pressed his hand to his bleeding shoulder. He watched her. He had seen alphas fight. He had seen wars. But he had never seen this. Elena moved like smoke. She was a blur of violence. She intercepted a mercenary who tried to rush her. She didn't dodge. She caught his throat in her hand. She lifted him, a full-grown man in tactical gear, off the ground with one arm. She tossed him aside like a rag doll. She wasn't just using strength. She was using the voice. Sleep, she commanded another guard. The man collapsed mid-stride, unconscious before he hit the floor. Dominic forced himself to stand. The pain in his leg was blinding, but he wouldn't stay down while his mate fought. He realized she didn't need saving. She was clearing the room. Eventually, only Martha remained. The mercenaries were groaning on the floor or unconscious. Elena stood in the center of the carnage. Her chest heaved. Blood, not hers, stained her hands. She turned to Dominic. The tension broke. The gold in her eyes softened for a fraction of a second. She scanned his body, checking his wounds. "You're hurt," she said. Her voice was layered, human and wolf speaking at once. "I'll live," Dominic managed to say. He limped toward her. "You broke the restraints." "I broke everything," she replied. They stood back to back. A unified front. Martha was backed against the railing of the platform. She held a silver syringe in her shaking hand. "Stay back." Martha shrieked. "I created you. I can destroy you." Dominic saw the fear in the older woman's eyes. She realized her mistake. She had thought the suppressants made Elena weak. The suppressants had acted like a dam. And Martha had just blown it up. "You didn't create me," Elena said, stepping closer, her claws clicking against the concrete. "You just caged me." Martha lunged. Not at Elena, but at Dominic. She knew he was the weak link now. She aimed the silver syringe at his neck. Before he could move, Elena intercepted. She didn't use magic. She used her body. She caught Martha's wrist. Crack. Martha screamed as the syringe fell. Elena held her mother by the arm. Dominic held his breath. This was it. The final test. Would she kill her? Or would she rule her? Elena looked at Dominic. She nodded once. He stepped back. This wasn't his fight anymore. It was Judgment Day.
The syringe was cold against her palm. Elena looked down at the woman who had birthed her. Martha was on her knees. Her expensive trench coat was ruined by the oil and grime of the factory floor. "Please," Martha gasped. Her eyes darted around the room. Her mercenaries were asleep or broken. She had no one left. "Elena, baby. I'm your mother. I did it for us." Elena felt the wolf pacing in her mind. It wanted to rip. It wanted to tear. But Elena wasn't an animal. She was a queen. She realized that killing Martha was too easy. Death was an escape. "You didn't do it for us," Elena said. Her voice calm. Terrifyingly calm. "You did it for the power. You hated that I had it, and you didn't." She squeezed Martha's wrist. Crack. Martha shrieked, dropping the remaining vial of wolfsbane she had hidden in her pocket. It rolled across the concrete. Elena kicked it. It spun back to Martha's feet. "Pick it up," Elena commanded. She used the voice. It slammed into the air like a hammer. Martha's shaking hand reached out. She grabbed the vial. "No," Martha whimpered. "It will kill me. It's too strong for a human." "You said I was the sick one," Elena whispered. She leaned down. Her golden eyes burned into Martha's soul. "You said I needed it to survive. So, take your medicine, mother." The command took hold. Martha uncapped the vial. Her hand moved against her will. She brought the orange liquid to her lips. She drank. It wasn't a lethal dose. Not immediately. But it would burn. It would destroy her insides just like it had destroyed Elena's for 20 years. Martha collapsed, clutching her stomach. She screamed. It was the same scream Elena had made in the silver cell. A heavy silence fell, suffocating the room. Elena stood up. She stepped over her mother. She didn't look back. She looked at Dominic. He was leaning against a pillar, bleeding, holding his side. But he was smiling. Her chest ached at the sight of him. He looked wrecked. And he looked beautiful. She walked to him. She placed her hand on his cheek. "It's over," she said. The war wasn't won with an army. It was won with a choice. And she had chosen herself.
Pain was a distant thing. Dominic watched Elena. She stood in the center of the wreckage, bathed in the harsh floodlights. She was covered in dust and other men's blood. She looked like a deity. Sirens wailed outside. Blue and red lights flashed against the high windows. The council enforcers. They burst through the doors. Weapons drawn. "Freeze," the lead officer shouted. "Drop your weapons." They saw the unconscious mercenaries. They saw Martha writhing on the floor. And they saw Dominic, the alpha of the Blackwood pack, bleeding out. Then they saw her. Elena turned to face them. She didn't raise her hands. She didn't cower. She let her aura flare. It hit the room like a shockwave. Pure, royal authority. The scent of ozone and silver-tipped fur. Every wolf in the room froze. The lead officer lowered his gun. His eyes went wide. He smelled it. They all did. Queen. Dominic pushed himself off the pillar. His leg gave out, but he forced himself to stand. He limped to Elena's side. He didn't stand in front of her to protect her. He stood beside her. Then, he did the unthinkable. Dominic Blackwood, the most ruthless alpha in the city, dropped to one knee. He bowed his head. The silence stretched. The police watched. The enforcers watched. "My queen," Dominic said. His voice rough, but clear. The look on his face wasn't defeat. It was pride. The lead officer holstered his weapon. He fell to his knee. Then the next one. And the next. One by one, the wolves in the room bowed. Only Martha's soft whimpers remained in the background. Dominic looked up at Elena. She wasn't looking at the bowing men. She was looking at him. Her hand drifted down to touch his hair. She smiled. It was the first real smile he had ever seen on her face. "Stand up, Dominic," she whispered. "We have work to do." So, he stood. He was battered. He was bleeding. But he had never felt stronger.
The boardroom was cold. But this time, Elena wasn't the one shivering. She sat at the head of the long mahogany table. The same table she used to polish. The same room where she used to serve coffee and try to be invisible. Now, she was the center of gravity. The board of directors sat around her. Old men in expensive suits. Shifters who used to look at her like she was lunch. Now, they looked at the floor. They looked at their papers. They looked anywhere but her eyes. Elena took a slow sip of her water. Clear. Clean. Water. No orange tint. No bitter taste. The door opened. Dominic walked in. He was healed. His suit was crisp black. He looked dangerous again. But when his eyes found hers, the hardness melted. He walked to the chair at her right hand. The consort's chair. He didn't sit immediately. He waited. Elena nodded. He sat. "The merger is complete," Dominic told the room. His voice was the growl they all feared. "Martha Vance is in a secure medical facility. She will remain there for the rest of her natural life." The board members nodded quickly. Like bobbleheads. They looked terrified to even breathe wrong. Elena placed her glass on the table. Click. "Good," she said. She stood up. The entire room scrambled to stand with her. She walked to the window. She looked out at the city. It was her city now. Her thoughts spun back to the girl with the pill bottle. The girl who thought she was broken. That girl was gone. Dominic came up behind her. He didn't touch her. He just stood close enough for her to feel his heat. "What are you thinking?" he murmured. Elena leaned back, resting her head against his shoulder. I'm thinking, she whispered, that I love the view from the top. Dominic smiled in the reflection of the glass. Long live the queen, he said. Elena closed her eyes. She felt the wolf settle in her chest, content. She wasn't hidden anymore. The sun set, turning the sky to gold. Just like her eyes. And the story wasn't about how he broke her. It was about how they built each other back up. The end.